Hey everyone, it's Kyle Wagner here, and I'm over in Hong Kong. I'm a co-learning experience designer helping schools and educational organizations create more socially, globally, emotionally aware citizens, and doing that primarily through project-based learning. And you are attending the presentation, Recreating Education and Developing Future Skills Through Project-Based Learning. Now I want to start out with a provocative question. I want you to put yourself in 2025. Look around you. What do you see as 4 years in the future? What does work look like for you? Do you put on a VR headset and connect to virtual worlds and use AI? Do you put on one of those gloves like they do in Minority Report in that futuristic movie and manipulate data on screen and connect with teams all across the world? A lot of us are already doing that right now in 2021. But more importantly, what are our students doing? What are our students who are entering high school right now, 2021, because they'll graduate in 2025? What are they doing? And this presentation is going to focus on 3 central questions to help us be able to answer that. First, what are those skills that students are going to need in 2025? We don't have a crystal ball, but we do have some predictive measures. 2, how do we prepare students now for those future skills? And 3, how do we really recreate education in a way that allows for them to acquire these? And do that through a couple of key learning experiences. And rather than add so many bells and whistles to what already exists, how do we help subtract and really focus on the core of what needs to happen to prepare students? You're going to be equipped with a few of those answers through this presentation, and I really hope to empower you in whatever position you are. And I want to start, as any teacher kind of would, with a bit of an activity. And hopefully this is fun for you. So if we're going to recreate education, develop skills of the future, it really behooves us to know what those future skills are. Now, the World Economic Forum has ranked skills according to the level of importance or perceived levels based on lots of information and data that they've gathered, interviews with multiple stakeholders from business to education to government sectors. And if you go to www.slido.com and enter in this code 313979, you should be able to rank what you perceive to be those top skills. And this is what you're going to see when you go there. You're going to see these 10 skills. They are not listed in the correct order. Your job is to put those together in the correct order. Pause the video now if you can. And if you can't, you can always do this activity a bit later. All right, so now you've had the opportunity to look at each of these skills and rank them in what you perceive to be their level or order of importance. Now I'm going to reveal to you what the answers are. Now, before I reveal the answers to you, know that just like in school, there's no one right or one wrong answer. We got to think critically. This is just based on the information that we have now. But the World Economic Forum has put together these as the ranking for the top 10 skills. Drum roll if you want, if you're with a team that you're watching this. Okay, here they are. Top 10 future skills. Take a second to look at these. Anything that surprises you? Anything that stands out? I'll tell you what surprises me. Surprises me is innovation. Analytical thinking is number 1. I always had a hunch it was important, but didn't know it was number 1. And number 2 is active learning and learning strategies. I'm not going to go through all 10 skills because I want to get to the core, the meat of this presentation. It's not to tell you what those skills are. It's to give you a bit of an experience that I've had in teaching these skills to students and how you can get these 10 skills taught through students through simple 6 to 8 week long experiences. Because this is the big question facing everyone now. How can we teach these skills in school? And if we don't have a school like we sometimes don't with COVID, if it's just virtual learning, how do we deliver those skills in this kind of environment? You will join me now in front of a whiteboard. I will do a quick costume change to a white shirt and talk a little bit about those skills and how we might develop them in students. See you in a second. Hey everyone, so we've identified what those top skills of the future are. We've exposed those top 10, and I'm going to discuss a bit of the top 5 skills. And the real question we're trying to address is how do we teach
these skills? How do we develop these skills for adults, for kids, for anybody who's going to need those for the future in really in a very uncertain climate, jobs that we don't even know that don't exist today that are going to exist in the future. And typically we don't really do a great job at teaching these skills in school. You know, that's my very crude drawing. You know it's a school, there's a flag there, and there's a door. So just make the assumption it's school. But typically in school, you know, if we teach these skills at all, we do it in a very isolated way. We might teach analytical thinking and innovation through math. So students might be solving some equations, solving some word problems, and so they're getting analytical thinking perhaps through that. Sometimes we address complex problem solving. Not necessarily complex, sometimes it's simple through just design challenges that we're giving kids, sometimes through STEM. They also maybe get a little bit of problem solving through math, creativity, and innovation. Sometimes we say, hey, we teach these through the arts and music, and those are certainly present there. But each of these things you're seeing in science for maybe some critical thinking analysis, each of those things are very isolated and they're taught discretely in different subjects and different blocks of time. But what if there was a better way and you don't even necessarily need a school to be able to teach these skills, and you can do it through one organizing structure, okay? 1 6 to 8 week experience. It could be a week-long experience, and you know this because you know it's something that engages all of us, okay? And I'm going to draw that here, and that is a meaningful, impactful, community-based, complex project. Okay? A project-based experience that you can get all of these skills. And I'm going to take you through an actual case study of a project that exposed students to all these skills where they really had to solve a very, very complex problem. And that particular project is looking at a local waterway. This was here in Beijing, and looking at how to filter out that waterway and really make an improvement, a positive improvement on the waterway. So the question was, how do we use data to make a positive impact on a local waterway? Now, first things first, let's look at analytical thinking and innovation. Where was that present in the project? Well, as you see here is a picture that's coming across the screen, is you're going to see students having to gather water samples from the lab and bring them to the lab. By them having to go get the water samples, you can see they had to use a bit of innovation to get down to the water source because they were high up on a bank. So you'll see that, and you'll see them taking it back to the lab. They're having to do all these testing of the water, from its phosphorus to its nitrogen levels to its dissolved oxygen, to really try to understand what is going on with the water and what is the source of pollution. Now, that in and of itself is going to involve some critical thinking, but it's also going to involve some problem solving because they're going to have to do something with this data. And what you're going to see next is students making a trip to the wetlands. So they're looking at natural ways in which water is being filtered. So they're connecting with NGOs, they're connecting with existing organizations, and you see them here is taking a water sample all the way from each different filtering pool and being able to see how the plants acted as a natural filtration system. So they're being exposed to this to see how they might solve this problem individually, because each student is going to be asked to solve this problem, or at least address it. Now let's look here at critical thinking and analysis. Critical thinking and analysis, you see them here is meeting with local stakeholders. You see them meeting with local villagers and those villagers that were connected to that waterway, just to better understand the problem, better understand how they're impacted by the problem, and really what kind of solutions might be most appropriate for them. So that information is feeding into the next part of the project, but this is all in that deep, deep project-based experience. So let's now look at active learning. So I'm going to draw here. Let's put this as number 4, active learning strategies. Now, the active learning strategies are happening all the time because students are going to have to take solutions that they're generating and really have to reconfigure those all the time. What you see here is the students presenting their work to a panel of experts, to biologists, to local NGOs that you see them presenting here, to local government officials. And by presenting those solutions, they're getting feedback and they're having to learn actively about how to improve that proposal, because some of these things might not be feasible. And you're going to see some of the solutions they came up with, which were pretty ingenious. Which I want to show. The last one is being creativity, and I'll just draw a little tail on this guy. This is going to be number 5, so we'll put 5 here. I didn't identify all the numbers, but just so you guys can see those here, I'll put the numbers here. Okay, so this is number 2. So now with creativity, originality, and initiative, they've had lots of opportunities to understand this problem, to really go through, sift through the data, meet with stakeholders. Now they're going to try to solve it. And as you see here, these are different products that each student came up with. The first product that you see is this student that came up with toxic-free cosmetics, because there's a lot of toxins that go naturally into those waterways. She's very into fashion, as you can tell, and so she develops this toxic-free cosmetics. Another student here, they noticed that a lot of those plant holders from the local flower shop were going into the waterway, so they were working with that local flower shop and seeing if they can get some more biodegradable plant holders into the flower shop. And this third one I really like here, you see the solar water filter that a student is developing, because after talking with some villagers, they realized that it had a hard time getting clean water. So they're testing out, hey, can I build this solar water filter and be able to provide that for clean water? And number 4, this is where, you know, you set a floor for a project, there's an unlimited ceiling. As you see here, the students developing with a local NGO, they're creating bamboo bicycles, because one of the things they're looking at is not just water quality, but air quality as well. And what might happen if we really start to use sustainable materials in the building process and in our transportation. So 4 very different creative, original products from this deep investigation. So those 5 skills that are usually taught in isolation, if at all, students gain all of those skills through the project. Now, the last part of this video, you might be thinking, great, where do I come in? So you have the opportunity now to think of a really high quality project. We're going to use a really, really great ideation strategy for you to come up with a project idea that you can either run away with students or that you can do yourself. So that is the next part of the video. If you already have a project idea, that's great, go with it. But if you're looking to come up with one, this is a really good activity that I like to do. And it's called the PBL Matrix. Now, before we get to the PBL Matrix, the first step is to come up with as many project ideas as we can, so we can determine how good these might be to enact with students. Because if we got 20 to 50 ideas and we want to narrow it down to one, it's better than only having one. So the way we're going to do this is through this giant rapid fire brainstorm. And I hope you're going to enjoy this activity, because the next video is going to show us doing this activity together with the group. So this next activity we just introduced is called the PBL Matrix. Basically what we're trying to get down to is some really high impact, high engagement projects, but it starts with coming up with as many project ideas as possible. So guys, the protocol is you have a post-it for each idea. There's no bad ideas, and the only rules are that once you write an idea down, you have to say it and slam it down, and you can build off that. So for example, some might say that we are going to look for affordable housing by looking in our community, and someone else might say, yes, there's an old abandoned building that we're going to repurpose into affordable housing, or something like that. Okay? So, ready, go. I got one about organic farming on school rooftop.
There's one. Link up with the local dog shelter.
All right, link up with the local dog shelter and pick people to take care of each dog.
Yeah.
Okay, I've won the minority in Hong Kong for other cultures, so we can show them their life in Hong Kong.
To Prow! Well, it's a wide-scale environment issue around recycling, and they can do recycling in school, and they can get the local council involved.
Ooh.
Okay, I've got one, help the homeless, so maybe collecting tins of food or clothes to go around the local homeless shelters.
Nice. And I'm going to jump off Ed's idea about wide-scale environment issue and look at I know there's the big Hong Kong is not having this recyclables taken by China anymore, and having students look at making art pieces out of those.
Okay, and this one is cleaning of the mangrove and beach area in Hong Kong through kayak and hike. Is combining sports and environmental issues.
Nice. I got a community program where they visit elderly. There's a huge elderly population here, and they're not necessarily well taken care of. So I think something the school can do.
So as you notice as we go along, the ideas just keep coming and coming. You might only have 1 or 2 ideas, but chances are when you hear group members' ideas, it might spawn something in you. So for example, one of the teammates, Ed, mentioned we should have a dog shelter. And I said, well, yeah, then we can link up each student to each dog, and perhaps they create adoption care packages. So this is really a good way to get your brains going and get your team members feeling confident about coming up with project ideas. And chances are, if you do this activity, you can come up with 10 to 20 to 30 different project ideas. They say that in creativity, it usually takes about 40 to 50 ideas to come up with a good one. So the more ideas you have, the more chance there is to come up with a good one. And again, remember the rules. There's no bad idea. You don't explore or discuss any ideas. You just get the ideas out there. Thanks guys, that was the first step, is to come up with as many ideas as possible. If you notice here, our paper is full, and now it's time to take these ideas and determine which is going to be the best project idea to move forward with. All right, so again, our next stage is we've come up with a lot of project ideas, and now the purpose is to put those project ideas into where we think they would fall for student engagement as well as high impacts on the community. Let's see, who wrote this one? Cleaning the mangroves.
Oh yeah, right. Okay, we can take the students. It's also like a mix of sports and environmental issue. So they can kayak to some islands to clean the mangrove and the beach. So at the same time, they can learn something about the mangrove or the beach habitats of animals.
Okay, so kayaking to the mangroves, learning about the mangroves, and about the animals. Okay, what do you think in terms of the engagement? Do you think students would be engaged?
I think it'd be high, wouldn't it?
It'd be very
high
high.
on both, because it's really foreign to most Hong Kong students to be in touch with their environment, certainly wildlife and things like that.
So I think high engagement and quite a high impact as well.
Great, and so then, all right, I'll put it over here. And so we won't go through all of these projects, but hopefully with your team, you go through all of these, and then the ones that you think are going to be the highest impact, highest engagement, you would circle those ideas and then explore 1 or 2 of those as being your project that you would run with students. So thanks, everyone. Hey, everyone, welcome back. We've just done our brainstorm about projects in which you're going to have the highest impact and the most student engagement. Again, you don't have to use these criteria. I really strongly suggest you use the criteria of easy to implement and hard to implement, because those projects that are going to be easy to implement, chances are you're going to have the best success with those particular projects. And so our first project is going to be around a student-run business, because this generated the most excitement from the group, and it seems like the most easy to manage. So that's going to be the idea we're going to go with. I encourage you to take the post-it of the idea you're going to go with, and now we're going to start planning out those stages.
Hey everyone, welcome back. I hope you really enjoyed that presentation, and I hope you leave this presentation feeling equipped that we really can help prepare our students for these future skills, no matter how uncertain they are, if we just change up a bit of the learning experiences. So if you've got that project idea now and you want to run away with it and start planning and designing that, whether you're in a school, whether you're a homeschool parent trying to plan activities for your students, whether you're part of a foundation trying to support this work in schools or an NGO or an after-school program, I'd love to support you. That's the kind of work I get excited about, as you can tell. And here's the way that you can get support. I'm going to share this screen. So last thing I'm going to share with you, if you want to start your project-based learning experience, here's some ways to get a hold of me through email, kylewagner@transformschool.com, or through my website, transformschool.com. Look and find out a couple of ways that we've helped schools and programs and how we might be able to support you. And you see here is High Tech High, because you might have recognized High Tech High from a documentary on being really the grandfather of project-based learning. That's where I got my start. And you see me here with one of my very first students and their projects exhibiting the work. So thanks so much for letting me share. Hope to talk to you soon and have a really great World Creativity Day. Bye-bye.